Hey everybody, I've not been too super consistent about making these videos, but I am trying, damn it. I just wanted to talk a little bit today about AI, okay? Let's just forget about, for a minute, how terrible it is for the environment and how it's an integral part of the surveillance slash police state that we are now living in the United States. But other than that, like as a Gen Xer, we grew up with technology. Like technology grew up with us, right? Computer technology, that is like internet technology. When I was 10 years old, my elementary school got its first computer ever. And I was super fascinated with it. And my parents, when I was in elementary school, bought me one of the first computers you could buy. So it was a pretty amazing time, right? And I was really interested in it. And now I'm a web developer. I have been for over 20 years. So I do like that kind of technology. I like the powers that being able to build a website gives me, because I can start a business and just build my own website to go along with it. But of course, now a lot of people can do that, right? Which is why my industry is and has changed a lot over the years. But now we have a new technology, AI. And you know, I'm sick of learning new technologies and like new ways of doing things, especially since I don't know if AI is, unlike other technologies, which I think helped build my skills, I think AI is a thing that would help atrophy your skills, right? Because you're no longer really doing the thing, you're asking AI to do the thing. And then, I mean, it's helpful if you know whether AI is wrong or not, since it really increasingly is. But I mean, so that's one of the reasons why I try not to depend on it too much. But also, at some point, it may be regulated. People spend apparently hundreds of dollars a month to use AI, which I would never do. I don't spend any money to use AI. In fact, I use it until it tells me I can't use it anymore, and then I wait until it tells me I can use it again for free. Because I'm really asking it to do things that I could do. It would just take me a little longer. Like, I don't have it build anything for me. I am not going to hook it to any of my services, because I've seen horror stories where it just goes in and deletes things or whatever. Like, it could send out emails to people. Like, people hook it to their email, they hook it to their web development like environment. I'm not doing any of that. So I basically use it as a glorified search engine. And I used to just use a search engine, right? So if it went away, I would just go back to doing that. So any questions it answers for me, I manually take the answer and go and implement it into my system, exactly how I've always done it, right? So then I test it. And if it worked, great. If it didn't, I have to come back and ask it more questions so it can go out and search for the answers like I used to do in a search engine. So I do think it saves me some time from me searching and like reading every forum question and answer, right? Like I did in the past. But I don't want my skills to be lost to AI, right? So I'm not going to let AI go do the thing. I'm going to go do the thing using the information that it has given me. And I feel guilty even doing that, because again, I know what the environmental impacts are of using it. But it's also just kind of annoying because, as always, there are some people who are very evangelical about it, right? And they're like, if you don't keep up with AI, you're going to die in this business, right? Your business is going to die. And you have to adapt, you have to whatever. I'm like, no, I really don't have to adapt. And I'm not going to. Even I went to a webinar recently about geared toward web developers about an app that you can install and then hook it to your AI business, your AI accounts, whatever. I mean, I think you would have to have a paid, I'm guessing you would have to have a paid account to do that. And then you give it prompts and it builds the website. And I'm like, well, then I'm not a web developer anymore, right? I'm just a person who can say what they want, right? And then someone else does it. So then what am I, a manager? I specifically did not build a website business that made me a manager of other people and not the doer, because I like being the doer and I want to keep being the doer. That's what's interesting to me. It's not interesting to me to say, build me a website that looks like this and does this. That doesn't make me a doer. It's just like when you tell AI to create a piece of art and it creates it, that doesn't make you an artist. That makes you someone who can describe a piece of art, right? So I don't want to be someone who describes a website. I want to be someone who makes a website. So that's the bullshit that I'm dealing with in regards to AI. And I wish I was someone who never had to, except for the apps that just build it in and I can't help but use it. But I don't want to be someone who even needs any AI in my life. I wish I didn't. It just does save time for it to be a glorified search engine, and just instead of me using just the normal search engine, which actually also has AI in it now. So sometimes it's so funny because if I run out of my free time on Claude, which is what I use, I just go ask the question I was going to ask in my browser, which I use Brave browser because it's doesn't track you. And then Brave browser's AI gives me an answer, and I can even ask follow-up question. It's just like using AI. So I don't want to give billionaires any money. So I'm going to use as much of their shit for free as I possibly can. That is my goal. Yeah. So I'm curious as to how you are having to use AI in your life. Does your job require it? Are you like, oh my God, I'm going to retire in 10 years? Maybe. I don't know many people saying that. But if you are, you're like, and for the last 10 years, I have to use this stupid technology that I think is dumb and don't like. So I'd love to hear from you guys on how you're using it or not using it or refusing to use it or don't need to use it. That would be awesome. I do sometimes wish I was a farmer or a hermit in the woods and I didn't have to use any technology. Of course, I love people, so I couldn't be a hermit in the woods. But being a farmer, you probably get to know a lot of people. And cows. Cows are great. So I'd much rather be talking to cows than talking to AI, which, speaking of which, I have had 2 encounters where businesses forwarded me, or like one business was a doctor's office and it said, if you were making an appointment, press 2 or whatever. So the person who answered was an AI bot who sounded like a California surfer dude. And this surfer dude was trying to set up my appointment. And of course, then couldn't do it and had to transfer me to someone. And then the second one was the new property management company in charge of my building. And I called about a service request. And she said, I can't remember the name now. She said, I'm going to transfer you, let's just say Gloria. I'm going to transfer you to Gloria. And she said it like just as if it was normal. And I got transferred to, at first, I didn't know. But after a couple of minutes, I realized it was an AI bot. So she thought just like, I'm going to transfer you to Gloria. Gloria's a freaking AI bot. And then Gloria couldn't find my address in their system. So she had to transfer me to someone else too. It was like, oh my. But if I had a choice, I would never ever speak to an AI bot that is pretending to be a human. Like, I'd rather actually just have the automated thing, like press 3 for this, right? Than someone who is trying to pretend to, like an AI bot that's trying to pretend to be a human. So that's super annoying. And I think people are very annoyed. Like, I don't use self-checkout, just like, I don't want to deal with a robot. Like, just give me a rude human any day. I would rather speak to a rude human than an AI bot any day. And I know some people are going to disagree with me on that, but that is the way I feel. And I don't think that's going to change. So yeah, we get to spend the next however many decades of our lives dealing with this. And just, I've heard it talked about in a way that like it can be an accessibility issue, like making elderly people deal with even the automated attendants or AI. And the two AIs I spoke to, I think if you were elderly, you might not even realize that they weren't humans, even when they're like repeating themselves, right? And you're wondering why they're repeating themselves. So, and just having to do everything online, right? Like, not every generation grew up with this stuff. And so, I mean, at some point, we'll be the elderly people. But even if we did grow up with it, I think Generation X in particular, I could be wrong, likes to deal with people as opposed to robots. I could be wrong. I'm sure there's many antisocial Gen Xers, probably more than I think. Oh, and speaking of which, my friend just sent me a video about how this kid was talking about he was going to play some of his grandfather's records, and it was 9-inch Nails. I know someday the grocery store music will be, Pearl Jam and Faith No More, and that'll just warm my heart. Anyway, that's all I have to say today, but I would love to hear your comments about AI and what effect it's having on your life and what you think about using it. And maybe you're just benefiting from it and you just love it. I could see how I could use it more to benefit myself, but I don't want to use it because I think for me and my values, like it's just not something that I want to do. Anyway, y'all, I hope you stick around for my next video. I'm going to make it much sooner, I promise.